Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you how to deploy the same CloudFormation stack to different AWS accounts or probably different AWS regions. So let's double check the state of the CloudFormation stack in our target environment. So in this tab, Firefox tab, I am authenticated to this account ID that ends with 19604. And I'm viewing the stacks in Oregon region. In the other tab, I am authenticated to an account that ends with 62632, and I'm also watching the Oregon region. Yeah, so we're going to deploy the same config, same stack into these two accounts in Oregon region. Let's go back to the Visual Studio Code. So previously we have uh, seen how to deploy the config into two different regions. This time we're going to deploy the same stack. This time we're going to use this previous config that we used before to deploy it to two different accounts. So my setup at the moment is to use the AWS authentication outside of the Sceptre. So if I run AWS SDS get caller identity in this shell, you can see that it is connected to the account that ends with 19604. And in the other shell, if I run the same command, I am authenticated to the account which ends with 62632. Yeah. So I can deploy it like this by first, before calling Sceptre, I authenticate to the appropriate role that has permission to deploy CloudFormation stack, and then run Sceptre command like this, Sceptre launch y -y, and then run ec2 vpc YAML. This will deploy the stack into the first account. So let's go to the AWS console, go to the first account that ends with 19604. Refresh this. This is Oregon. Yeah, it is being created. Now we go back to Visual Studio Code and go to the other tab, run same command again. Copy that, go to that tab, run the same command. Okay, now go back to the console. This is the first account. We go to the second account. Yeah, this is the one that ends with 62632. Same stack with the exact same config is being created. Templates, same template parameters. Yeah, so let's remember this. That's 2480/21. So we go, it's completed. If we go to VPC, that's the VPC for the second account. And in the first account, it should have exactly the same CIDR block. Yeah, 248.0/21. VPC 248.0/21. Now, this is acceptable, but many times within a company, within an organization, they use multiple accounts, but they want to connect all those VPCs in different accounts. As long as they are in the same region, they want to connect them together using Transit Gateway. In a network, having a CIDR block with exactly the same range is just not acceptable, because that means they cannot talk to each other. So we need to somehow figure out how to have different CIDR block assigned to these two VPCs. So if we go back to our Visual Studio Code, we need to somehow modify this between the first account and the second account. Yeah, since we know how to pass the variable through the command line, like so in the first account, Sceptre, so we can pass a single variable like this, but we can also pass a file that has a lot of variables like this, dash dash file instead of dash dash file. Yeah, so we're going to create a file on the Sceptre, well, actually a folder first. Let's call it variables, and this time we're going to create a file for the first account, which is the one that ends with 19604.yml. So that's the file name because it needs to be a YAML file. YAML always starts with triple dashes, and then we're going to supply the value for the VP starter block from that file. So let's create a variable called VPC starter block, and then the value for first account will be, yeah, let's make it different. Instead of 248, we're going to use 240, and then we're going to create a different variable file for the second account. So the second account ends with, wait, second account ends with 62632.yml. You can name the file with your actual account name instead of these numbers. The numbers will be confusing probably, but yeah, you can choose any file you want as long as you load them correctly. So in this one, we're going to use just 40.0/21. Yep. Now, in order to use these variables, we need to supply the file name, the Sceptre like this, file variables dash. So in this is the first account. That's the 19604.yml. But before we do that, we need to modify the config a little bit. So we're going to print the content of that variable by using the Ginger2 syntax. So the variable is VPC starter block, yeah. And then we're going to put, as always, for precaution, we put default value in there. So default value will be 248.0 if this variable is not supplied. But if that variable is supplied, then it should show 240.0/21, or in the case of second variable, second account, it should show 10.255.40.0/21. Okay. Now we're going to relaunch the VPC for the first account in Oregon region by using this command, sceptre -file variables 1/19604.yml, and then launch ec2vp.yml. Okay, it is updating. Let's monitor in the console. This is the first account. Go back to CloudFormation. It is being updated. Since we changed the starter block, a new VPC will be created. The old VPC will be deleted. Okay, update is complete. So if we go to the VPC, this time the VPC should show as 240.0/21. Yeah, that's 240.0/21. Now the VPC in the second account has not been updated, so it should show still 248.0/21. Yeah. Okay, we're going to go to CloudFormation and go back to Visual Studio Code and run the same command in the second shell. Copy that, go to second shell, but this time we're going to use the other file, which is 62632.yml. After this update, the VPC in the second account should have this VPC starter block instead of 248.0/21. Okay, let's run this. and go back to the file AWS console for the second account. Yeah, this is the second account, 623 632 ID. Refresh this tag. It is being updated. Parameters now. Yeah, it's showing it's using the value from that variable file. It's completed. So let's go to the VPC, double check if that VPC has a new CIDR block. VPC. There we go. So that VPC, now the two VPCs in two different accounts have different CIDR block, which means it should be no problem if we try to connect them together using Transit Gateway or if we are using VPC peering. And that's how you can utilize the config with variable file combination in Sceptre by supplying the variables in different file and pass them using these argument in the Sceptre CLI and then capture those variables in your actual config. Remember, these variables are only available in the config level, not in the template level. So var is the var variable like this will be available in your config level, not in the template. In the template, you can only access variable under Sceptre user data, which must be passed from your config like this one. Yeah. So don't get confused. I got confused a lot at the beginning, but now I'm fully aware of the difference. Thank you for watching.